The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
Hola, a very warm welcome to the VAR show, the show which talks about all the various major football leagues in detail. Today we are going to continue a theme of interviews, and we have a very influential figure in the Bangladesh footballing culture as of today, and hopefully in the future also. We have the head coach of Bangladesh national team, Mr. Jamie Day. So without wasting much time, I would like to thank Jamie for coming on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show, and I would like to begin the interview by asking, how are you and what are you doing during this pandemic period?
Oh, thanks for having me. At the minute, just at home in the UK with family. We just are still in lockdown at the moment, so spending some good time with that and just looking at other ideas at home that we can possibly do with the national team to help, for plans further in the year, hopefully when we get back to playing.
So, this question always bugs me, when I was preparing the set of interview questions for you, there's this question which always was inside me, you played in England, you were in the Arsenal youth setup, and most of your career, almost all of your career was in England. What brought you to Bangladesh?
Well, I'd always wanted to play abroad, first of all, and I didn't really get the opportunity to do that. And I felt that, that for me, once I started coaching, that I wanted to fulfill that sort of dream of working abroad. And for a coach and a player, I think it gives you, better experience. You can assess other countries and how other people work, and obviously develops you as a coach and as a player. So I wanted to do that. This opportunity come along, and I felt for me it was a good opportunity. It was a national team. It was working abroad, and something that I wanted to do. So, yeah, for me, really, really pleased that I've got the opportunity to do that.
So, how is you have experienced maybe a lot of passionate fans during your playing days. How is the fan culture in Bangladesh?
Yeah, people love football in Bangladesh. Cricket is number one sport, right now in Bangladesh. It has a lot more sponsorship, and I would say that the league gets a lot more spectators. But for the national team, I think we've had really good crowds. They're excited, passionate when the games are on. They've done marvellous in helping and supporting the team when we've played, and we want that to continue because they are a big part of us playing at home and trying to win games and making football become the number one sport if we can do that. So yeah, it's everyone in Bangladesh follows football. A lot of them follow European teams, but obviously when the national team play, they come out in good numbers and support the players.
So how is the footballing infrastructure in Bangladesh?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've noticed in the 2 years that we're a little bit behind everyone else. I think, I compare it to, if we look at India, we're behind India a long way in terms of academy structure, the club structure, league structure. That's far ahead of where we're at. And that's something that we've got to build and strive to get towards. I think at the moment we have 13 clubs in the Premier League, which are professional but don't really have any youth system or any system in place below the first team. So yeah, there's plenty of work to do. Obviously, I understand that it costs money, and we need to improve facilities, which also cost a lot of money. But I think if we want to try and get better and we want to move up the FIFA rankings, then we have to look at how we can make them progressions to do that.
So how is Bangladesh for you? How is it?
Yeah, it's a hectic place. I mean, obviously I've been there 2 years now. I live right in the heart of Dhaka, so traffic is a big issue and a big problem. It's very crowded, but I think you get used to that after a while. Like I say now, I understand the culture a lot more than when I first come. I get on really well with all the people in Bangladesh. I go out in different places. It's obviously now for me a second home, so I've got used to living there and used to all the conditions that come with Bangladesh.
So was language a barrier for you when you arrived there in the beginning?
I've been very lucky. Probably 90% of the players speak English, so that's very good for me. But I have a very good Bangladesh coach that translate any difficult situations that we get in. So he understands how I work now. He knows how I want things put across, and he's very good at delivering that now. So any issues that we have with language, which is very small, he will step in and take control of that situation and get the point across so everyone understands what's needed.
So now we'll move on to a little bit of the tactical side of the game. And if you had to describe yourself as a coach, like if your team had to be playing according to your philosophy, what adjective would best describe your team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously every coach objectives may be changed with the team and players that they've got. I think for us in Bangladesh, we looked at what our strengths were. We work extremely hard. We have probably our philosophy is we like to counter attack. We're hard to beat, break down, and we like to catch teams on the break with pace and try and score goals that way. So for me, as a coach, I think all the staff, we are energetic. We enjoy what we do. We have a passion of football. We want to do well. We want the players to do well. We all work hard together as a team. We have a good spirit, and that's what we try to get across on the pitch with our players, that a team that fights for 90 minutes, that works for each other, that sometimes we'll have to defend for long periods of games, but we know that, if we do that, then we have ability to counter and nick goals and try and win games.
So, like if you had to choose one formation as a go-to formation, what would that be?
Well, I think we've mainly used 4-2-3-1. I think obviously with that formation for us, it suits us to counter and it suits us to be compact against better teams that generally we normally play in international competition. So, we've used 3-4-3 when we've been chasing games, and for me, probably the 4-3-2-1 or 4-2-3-1, sorry, is the best formation that we've used so far.
So, okay, like this is like my personal favorite question and ask all the coaches. If you had to implement a style of marking, would you prefer man marking or zonal, or would you prefer a hybrid of both?
Yeah, I mean, when I was playing, it was always man marking, and everyone was responsible for that player that they marked. And if that player scored, then it was your fault that you didn't mark close enough or tight enough. I think now the game's changed a lot, and I think a lot of teams now do a bit of both. They will have some markers, and they will have players in areas as well. That's what we use now, and most teams that we play against them in the world probably have a bit of man marking and zonal, in their play.
So, moving on, like if you had to pick out one coach or two coaches or whatever you feel like, do you have? Can you mention some names whom you look up to or you take as inspiration?
Yeah, I think for me, when I was at Arsenal as a young player, we had a coach called Don Howe who worked for England under Bobby Robson, Terry Venables, and worked with some fantastic players. And for me, he was the coach that I looked up to and wanted to be like when I went into my coaching career. He was at an older age when he was coaching, us at Arsenal, but every day his enthusiasm, his knowledge for the game and wanting to develop players, was the best I've ever seen. And I've said before, I never got the opportunity to work with Bobby Robson or be close to it, but everyone loved Bobby Robson who worked and played for him, and Don worked for Bobby, and I guess that they were similar sort of characters, so I can imagine what Bobby Robson was like through Don. So he was the main coach. And then I had another coach when I was at Lilleshall, which is a national school, called Keith Blunt, who I had for 2 years from 14 to 16, and he taught me a lot early on about football and positioning and how to play the game, and again influenced probably how I am as a coach today as well. So them two coaches were the main two for me that wanted or drove me on to be a coach, and say my principles are probably similar to what theirs was.
So, like if you had to give some piece of advice for coaches just starting out, what would that be?
Well, I think now you have to get your badges, so you have to make sure you've got the right qualifications. I think coaching is a lot of trial and error. There'll be some days where you have some good sessions, and there'll be some days where the same session doesn't go to plan. It's about still being confident in what you're doing and believing in what you're doing, and you have to take risks as well sometimes. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. But I think as a coach, you can never doubt yourself. You have to believe in what you're coaching and what your philosophies are, and sometimes when it doesn't go right, you have to bounce back and you have to go again. In football there's always going to be downsides, so it's managing that. And obviously when you're doing well, not get too high and think that you've cracked it, because you can easily get knocked back down. It's about finding that balance, but believing in what you're doing. And when you coach, players want to enjoy the session as well, so you've got to find all them little bits to make everyone happy within the camp that you're creating.
So, Jamie, I'm going to ask you a very controversial question, and please think and answer. It might jeopardize your future career potentials. So, whom would you prefer, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo?
I think for me, it's very tough. They're both fantastic players. I think that me personally, I would probably go for Messi. I think that he can win a game like Ronaldo, but I think he can win a game, in the space of a second. I think, for me, he's the one that I would put on a pitch to win me a game. I think he's the one that can open up doors, and he's the one that can, get you into Champions League finals, and he can win your leagues. And I think he's just edged Ronaldo over that.
Okay. So on that note, Jamie, thank you so much for talking to us, and we wish you all the best for your future campaigns. And we wish you take Bangladesh as far as possible and possibly make them play the World Cup someday. And hope we can talk again.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be very amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. No problem.